Hey, fancy people, and welcome to the second episode of the FT podcast. I have with me Owen from OwenLikesComics, and I am Jay Parks, and today we're going to try to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Maybe. I don't know. Something tells me one of us on this podcast has not actually seen Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, people, it's not me.
Usually... Yeah, it's me.
Now, Jay, why haven't you seen Guardians of the Galaxy? You specifically knew we were doing a podcast today. You asked me to come on this show and discuss Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, when I accepted this invitation, I assumed we would both have seen the movie and would be able to discuss it together. And now I realise you don't want to go see the movie and instead want me to reenact the movie to you.
Yeah.
So,
and if you could get costumes, that would be great. You know.
Well, this comes to the point. I have prepared 6 finger puppets to completely reenact Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
That was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Thank you. You know, that took me hours to prepare. And, you know, I'm not quite Chris Pratt and I'm not quite Kurt Russell, but I feel like I really encapsulate the spirit of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 to you there. What did you think of the film, the special effects, the script, the music,
incredible.
All of it?
You know, Marvel nails it every time. I mean, they should really put you on the team.
Hey, you know, I would be happy to take a role on Marvel, despite the fact I've been known to be called a DC fanboy on occasion.
Well,
and then also be told I hate DC. So
you made Baby Groot the pinky finger. That's genius on its own.
Yeah, let's talk about something I just discussed there, because I feel like we aren't going to get to discuss Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Probably not.
So fancy teeth people, that's what we call them, isn't it?
Fancy people is something I'm trying out. Yeah,
fancy
I'm not
people.
Sure if it's working.
I'm not good at naming audiences because I have no name for an audience.
I'm not either.
So if you people want a nice nonsensical rambling with me and Jay, we're going to discuss YouTube, Marvel, DC. And it's just going to be a bit of free-flowing conversation. So enjoy that.
I might even bring up a toilet or two for some reason.
So let's start with the toilet then. What's going on with your toilet, Jay?
It won't flush. And I can't have that. So
yeah, I mean you live on a mountain. You've got to be able to shit.
Yeah, and we don't have sewers here. Everybody has to have their own separate sewage system. Mm-hmm. And so there's no choice but to go dig it up and fix it. It was not pleasant. I have seen things.
Did you at least record it for a vlog?
Oh, I wish I had thought of that.
That would be the best daily vlog ever.
I never record anything, man. Unless
you
it's,
and me both.
Yeah, unless it's in the teleprompter, I never. But I think I should, because this place up here in these mountains, man. I mean, you know, you think Duck Dynasty's popular? There's some people around here that are just way out there.
Wow.
You know,
one thing we were talking about before we started this was YouTube and how it is seemingly both an amazing platform and an absolute nightmare. So,
yeah,
you know, do you want to carry on with discussing what you were saying before?
Like take somebody like Scott or, you know, doing a video once a week, man. The guy does his own lighting. He does his own blocking, his own everything. These are jobs that a network would hire 2 or 3 people for, you know, writing, you know, and it's always on point. The production value is television level production value.
Yeah. And
to say to him, and this is what YouTube told him now. And this isn't something, this is something he said publicly. I wouldn't, I wouldn't leak private conversations, but YouTube told him, if you just upload 3 videos a week, you'll start to see growth in a couple of years.
Oh. If only that was as easy as that.
Yeah. You know, just a couple of years of your life and 3 videos a week at an impossible, you know, you were talking earlier about a video that you did where the assets took you 2 weeks to find.
Oh yeah, there are plenty of times with, you know, I'm in a bit of a similar boat to Scott in that way, in which, you know, the videos that I make take a long time to research and to write and then to edit, because I'm not a particularly slow editor, but I find editing to be very irritating. So I will do a bit of editing, then I will go away and de-stress and then come back and then get angry at Final Cut Pro, then leave and come back. So editing, that takes me a while. And then, you know, you've got to make things like animations, you've got to add things like music in, which takes a long time to find the right music to fit the mood of the video. You know, all in all, you know, content creators as a whole put a lot of time into their videos. You know, a lot of the people that are making quality content, they treat this like a full-time job. They put in the hours, and I'm sure you can relate to that. Put in the hours that you would with a real full-time job. And the worrying fact is, with everything that's going on at the moment, you know, you mentioned everything that's going on with Scott, and I know Bandit from Bandit Inc. made a similar a case in a video he did. These channels that are making this high quality content multiple times a week aren't seeing the projected revenue that they should be seeing. I know a lot of people don't see the issue with that. A lot of maybe people who aren't too aware with how content creation works, maybe you don't think, you know, what's ad revenue to that? And, you know, it's not a case of just, you know, we want to make money off this. You know, no one's on YouTube as a get-rich-quick scheme, because trust me, there is no quick and rich about YouTube.
No.
But, you know, you're putting in a lot of hours into these videos, and it needs to be, and it's something I've learned making videos for the last 18 months, that you've got to make sure that your channel is cost-effective. You know, my dream isn't to make millions and millions doing YouTube videos, but it's to get to a point where the channel is self-sustainable, where if I need to buy new equipment, or if I want to upgrade editing software, or if I need to pay for books or research or anything like that, I can comfortably do so using money generated by the channel, that the channel runs itself.
Right. To make a living doing your work. You know, I mean, it's not unreasonable to me to think that if you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, that you should be making a living from that. Yeah.
And I think that it's been scary for a lot of people at the moment that, you know, I've experienced it to myself to an extent, obviously not to the extent of people with hundreds and thousands and millions of subscribers, but a lot of people are seeing a big dip in their ad rates at the moment. And that's worrying because, you know, I saw Bandit say in his video that, you know, he might have to go back to working his job and doing YouTube as a part-time thing. And that's a guy that's been making content for 4 to 5 years and has been putting his heart and soul into making these videos.
I had a voiceover cameo in one of his videos too.
Really?
Yeah. I never could find myself, so maybe I got cut, but I did record it and send it to him at least.
Awesome.
He's a really nice guy.
He is. He's a really cool guy. But, and you know, there's been, you know, we talked before we started this about Patreon, and now I think I am completely have nothing but adoration and respect for the service that Patreon gives. From a creator standpoint, it's not something I've never asked anyone to donate to a Patreon. I've never promoted a Patreon page. But, you know, watching it from an outside and with some kind of knowledge of creators and the struggle that they go through, I think Patreon is going to become such an important service in the next couple of years.
Yep.
I think that, you know,
there are people on YouTube that are going to have to fall back on Patreon and merchandise sales and, you know, whatever else. There's about 7 or 8 different ways that the average YouTuber can make money, but ads was a big part of that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I'm worried about the future of the quality of content on YouTube.
Yeah,
there's a snowball effect. You take somebody like Bandit, and let's say that he's putting out, you know, a video a week, maybe 2, and you tell him that's not enough, and you know, the algorithm takes away his viewers, so he goes part-time, and now he's making 1 or 2 videos every 2 weeks or a month.
And as a result, he's not going to hit the levels for projected growth, which YouTube's telling him. It's like, you know, you said what Scott said about 3 videos a week consistently for 3 years. It's like, but if we're not getting the ability to make it self-sufficient and be able to compensate for the hours we're putting in, then how do you expect the channel to make 3 high-quality videos?
Yeah.
To me, I find it completely confusing because I know I can barely do 1 video a week. You know, last week I didn't have a video because I did 3 straight weeks over Easter, and that really that broke me.
It's because a lot of work.
It takes a lot of time, you know, my videos tend to be between 6 to 10 minutes, but that's not 6 to 10 minutes of work. Definitely not.
No,
you know,
not at all.
Each video takes me anywhere between a week to almost like a month. You know, I've been tweeting about, there's a Power Rangers video I've been researching since Easter.
Yeah.
I've watched near enough every season of Power Rangers, and I feel like it's haunting me.
Yeah. And I find myself a lot trying to hit that once a week, falling back on videos that don't require a lot of research and require less editing, you know, and I don't like that because that's not that hurts the quality of the channel.
That's a dilemma I face myself, because I started YouTube without a real clear indication of the kind of content I wanted to make, and I kind of stumbled eventually on some ideas which have kind of evolved into the case study videos I'm making now. But there came a point where I thought, you know, I took a month or 2 off YouTube completely because I wasn't feeling fulfilled with the content I was making. I felt like I was making the videos I thought would get views, not necessarily the videos I wanted to make myself. And I was at a real crossroads. I thought, you know, what's more important to me, making videos for an audience or making videos that I'll be proud of?
Yeah.
And, you know, I took some months off. I really took inspiration from a lot of different sources, because at that point, you know, as strange as it sounds, I don't watch a lot of YouTube. You know, I'm not a big YouTube watcher. And, you know, I started
most YouTubers aren't, man. I mean, where you don't have the time. You don't have the time.
But it's you know, I took some time off, but I started watching a lot of really different stuff, which influenced me in a lot of cool ways. I became a really big fan of people like PBS Idea Channel, Philosophy Tube, everything from a painting nerd writer. All those guys who... Wisecracker, another one who I think are excellent.
You're naming off just so many of my favorites. I have tried so hard to emulate Wisecrack, but they're so good. They're just so good. I mean, it's like, well, I try to emulate Scott too, but you know, frankly, I'm not that good, but I'm trying.
But that's one of those, you develop, I think, your ability over time. It doesn't happen overnight, as far as I've learned. Well, you see these channels that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers that have made like 10 videos. And frankly, you know, more power to them, but I don't understand how people can hit the ground running so easily. It took me a long time.
Lightning strikes and they get one viral video, and that one video drives their whole channel. You know,
maybe, and more power to them.
That's my theory. Yeah, more power to them. But that's not going to happen for your average guy starting a new channel. It's just not.
But for me, you know, I hit that crossroads where I think every creator makes, where you think, you know, I'm not fulfilled with the content I'm making. And then I decided, you know, I wanted to step away from YouTube for a little while, evaluate the things that I've been making, evaluate the way I'd been making it, and evaluate other things and look at other people's, not necessarily people in the circle I was working in the comic book sphere, but looking outside of that in like a larger wide classes, like an information-based sphere.
Right.
Channels that may be about different things contextually, but were focused on learning and teaching things, whether that be talking about films and like deconstructing movies. Or there's a really interesting channel I like called Noisy Images, which focuses on a lot of hip-hop music. And, you know, hip-hop's not a thing I'm a massive fan of, but the way they present those videos, in both the way it's edited and the way it's written, I find to be absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. Back in the early planning stages for this podcast, you pointed me to that channel in a conversation. And yeah, I'm the same way. Half the time I don't even know the artists and the songs at all. But the way they present the information is something that I aspire to be able to do.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in the context of the video isn't what's important to an extent. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Spider-Man or if we're talking about Goodfellas or Kanye West to an extent. It's all about how you apply what you're trying to tell about those videos. Because, you know, I made, for example, I can make a video about the Killing Joke, which but the video isn't so much about the Killing Joke, more as it's about the moral and philosophical discussions raised by that comic book, for an example.
Right.
Which there could be a video discussing the lyrics and themes in Kanye West songs, which discuss very similar things. On surface, those two videos have nothing in common. But we actually sit down and discuss the research and what those videos are really about. You know, you could say that it's more about, I think what I find really interesting about those information-based channels is each one wraps up their information in different clothing to an extent. And to an extent, I kind of relate to that an extent where I've said extent a lot. You know, I've had a lot of comments saying that for a channel with the word comics in the name, I don't talk about comic books enough. And I'll be the first to admit, I don't talk about comic books enough. But I feel like using the characters from comic books, it allows me to explore philosophical and psychological and history and all that great stuff, things based around life and things that relate to anyone, but wrapping that in a way that as fans of comic books and comic book movies, we can understand and comprehend easiest.
Don't feel bad. I started my channel based around science fiction. That's why it's called That Sci-Fi Show. And I did 2 Star Wars videos and then immediately started drifting into comic books and, you know, philosophy and fiction. And, you know, I also do a lot of top 10 lists and stuff, but the algorithm has to be served. And those videos are okay for what they are. They're fine, you know, but I'd like to do more of the other stuff. And the problem is that those things take me like 2 weeks to do, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas I can name my top 10 alternate DC universe, you know, universes in 3 or 4 days. So it is what it is.
And, you know, you touched, I kind of went off track a little bit then, but you touched on something that I think is really important. It's a case of, and, you know, as I was saying, it's something I hit myself where I had to decide, do I want to make 3 or 4 videos a week that I know will get clicks, but won't have a lot of substance to them? We're living in an age now where media is becoming increasingly disposable.
Right.
And I kind of made the choice that I wanted to make content that isn't like that has a lot of weight to it and has hours and hours of research poured into it. And they may not do as well. They may not get as many views, but I think the people that watch it are taking more away from it. And I think that's what's most important to an extent. Yeah.
And that's why things like Patreon are so important, because there's going to come a time when to do what we do or what we try to do, what you definitely do and what I try to do, what Wisecrack does, you're going to need a whole team of people because, you know, there's only one way to make that kind of content on a weekly basis. And that's to put one guy as the writer and another guy on the camera, you know, etc. And then you can do it. It becomes feasible, you know.
Yeah,
like
I mean, my case study videos, you know, I write them all myself. I do all the research. I do all the editing. You know, OwenLikesComics is unless I'm doing a collaboration with someone, which even then, I majority of the time do most of the editing. I plan most of it out. I do most of the writing.
Yeah,
you know, it's a one-person operation, and
well, when it comes to collaborations, it's hard to go to another person and say, "Will you do my work for me?"
you know,
more often than not, you show them a script and they record their part and they send it to you, and then you're left with, you know, and that's how it should be.
You know, I think there is in the 100+ videos that I've made, and there aren't 100+ videos on the channel, but I have made 100+ videos. There's only one video that I physically do not appear in. But even with that, you know, I helped to write the video. I edited the video. You know, I did all the work behind the scenes of that video. I just wasn't hosting the video.
Yeah, I've got 20-something, and there's one where I don't appear in the video. It's just voiceover. And I did an animation of my mouth moving on a picture. and it didn't turn out like it turned out like a lot more uncanny valley than I wanted it to. But it was still just as much work, though, man. It didn't.
Yeah, and I think that I think we're going around in circles a little bit because I am notorious for getting off track. But I think that
it happens.
What we're getting to here is, we saw, like we talked about with Scott and with Bandit and a lot of other creators, we're being asked to do at least 3 videos a week. And, and I'm not trying to put down people who do other types of videos, each their own. And I know how much work goes into making a YouTube video, period. But that's probably easier for people that vlog.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably easier for people that react and do makeup tutorials for an extent and do gaming videos.
Exactly.
Because, and I'm not making pre-assumptions, but you do see a lot of those videos being uploaded per week. Channels who do those sort of things can upload 5 videos a week. And, that's commendable to them. But, for me, certainly for me and for a lot of, people who I'm friends with that make content in the same way I do, it's not that easy.
No,
a lot of research, our videos are very research heavy, probably more hours go into the research and the writing than anything else.
Yeah.
And I'll say now I can barely do 1 a week. It takes me, I'm normally finishing editing that video. Videos go up 8 o'clock my time on a Friday. I'm probably finishing editing that video at 7.
All mine are perpetually late for that reason. But when it comes to vlogging, like you take Casey Neistat, he talked about he was doing a vlog every day, and he talked about how his production value and his editing is incredible.
Yeah.
But he talked about how after a while he got into a rhythm where he could put out a video a day no problem. We'll never get there because of the research.
There's just I'd have to be continuously months in ahead of myself.
Exactly. And I remember Scott quit one time for like a month, just trying to make videos to get a month ahead.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely he just you
end up back where you are. And I always have a few scripts that I'm working on, a few things that I can fall back on, but you're constantly writing, but you'll never be at a stage where you're comfortably ahead of schedule continuously. There's always going to come a point where, because things happen, life happens,
and even if you could take a break like that and get ahead, the algorithm's going to punish you for taking the break.
It's a recurring problem. It's a no-win situation. And because the problem is, you want to make 3 videos a week, but we're not making the money to subsidize 3 videos a week.
Right.
You are essentially losing time because there's a lot of people who, that we could talk about who would have to go back to working jobs to subsidize the money that they're losing, and then still expecting to put 3 videos a week. How do you think that's going to affect the quality of those videos?
Exactly.
And I think, this is something I talked heavily about on Twitter. It feels like YouTube is more, like we discussed with how media is becoming more disposable, it feels like YouTube is more concerned about quantity over quality, which, I'm resigned to admit my channel might never be the biggest channel on YouTube because that is the complete antithesis of what I'm trying to do.
Well, and that's the niche that we're in. The biggest channels that are comparable to us are at like 1 million. We're never going to be PewDiePie, and we're never going to be Casey Neistat or Philip DeFranco, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I just want to keep doing this, and I want to do this full time, and it's looking harder and harder. It's looking less and less like I'll ever be able to get there.
Yeah, it's daunting because, I love making the videos that I do. I wouldn't make videos if it wasn't for the fact that I don't enjoy them, and the videos that I make and the style of videos I make, as much as I dislike having to do editing, it's the greatest thing in the world. I wouldn't swap it for anything. I'd love to get a point where I would be making enough money to do this full time, because there's not a thing I'd rather be doing full time. This is just so much fun. It's so awesome. And being in a community of so many awesome people, both making great content and watching great content, is continuously flowing and making and inspiring me, seeing my friends making great videos and trying new things and experimenting makes me want to experiment and try new things.
Yeah.
I'm constantly pushing myself. And
we were talking about early, like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the problem with wanting to do that is it's almost the complete opposite of what YouTube is wanting us to do, which is essentially make a formula, stick to it, become regimented, just put videos out. It's less about how well they are and just how well they'll do.
And they already have the quantity, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
not like not enough videos being uploaded to YouTube.
They're coming in so fast that no person will ever even watch a full day's content on YouTube.
Yeah.
It can't be done. You know?
I think one thing that is becoming increasingly, I've seen a lot of creators are becoming very disenfranchised with the way that YouTube's going. And I know something we've both looked into a lot lately is a site called Vid Me.
Yeah.
Now, I'd never heard of Vid Me until about a month ago, but now I think it's one of the greatest things that I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
You were on the site before I were, and
only by a couple of days.
But if you want to talk, because I think you know a little bit more about the site than I do. If you want to talk about what Vid Me is.
It's got Vid Me is a platform that tries to be what YouTube is, except geared more toward the creator. And so you've got they're working on like advertising and revenue share, but what they've got right now is they've got a tip service, sort of like Twitch has, and they've got a subscription service where you can do sort of a Patreon thing right there on the site. And those two things don't seem to be all that popular right now. I mean, there's a lot of tips going around, it looks like, but I don't see many people hiding their content behind the subscription wall a lot. But when they get ads, they're going to be a force to contend with.
Yeah, I think in general, I think that's the way crowdfunded is the way a lot of channels are going to go, especially with all the uncertainty going on with ad revenue and AdSense.
Did you go ahead? I'm sorry.
I think that it's okay. Carry
on. The Vid Me, they really earned my respect because have you seen their Keemstar video?
Yes, I have.
I mean, how could you not be on their side after you see that? I'll put in a clip. But man, they nailed him. They nailed him hard. Yeah.
I think that in the age of uncertainty over ad revenue and ad rates, I think it's going to go to a place where channels are going to be predominantly crowdfunded.
Right.
I think services like Patreon have really come into their own over the last 12 months. But I think we're getting to a point now where channels are going to become increasingly relied by crowdfunded to an extent, where they're going to be predominantly promoted through crowdfunding measures. And we've seen Patreon's become a real force and a real great tool by creators over the past 12 months. And I think what VidMe is offering is a nice blend between the YouTube service, the Patreon service, and kind of the Twitch model of service in a way that I think is as a creator is extremely clever. And it's something I wish that YouTube was implementing, where instead it feels like it's out to crush small independent creators because we aren't what they want to an extent.
Yeah, and their tools aren't as developed, but they'll get there. And here's the thing:
it's the early days of the site, but
but from a viewer perspective, it's just like YouTube. You go there, there's channels.
The interface is extremely similar.
Yeah,
and I was describing it to a friend. I was describing the interface to a friend. I kind of described it as a mix between YouTube a few years ago and Reddit to an extent. It's kind of a nice blend. It's got the upvote system from Reddit with a lot of the view and watching interface from YouTube. And, it's something that, I checked after hearing Bandit discuss making a VidMe page. I'd seen a few people on Twitter discussing VidMe, so I thought I'll go check it out. And now I think I have 6 or so uploads on there. I've just been re-uploading all the case study videos from YouTube one a day, adding them on there. And seeing how that does, because not only that, it's reassuring to know that in the age where YouTube channels are randomly being taken down, especially channels that aren't with a network, I feel like most other people around me, bigger and smaller than me, are with networks, and I'm doing this completely independently, and I'm proud to do that. But it's to a point where I've already encountered problems with my channel. You know, everyone experiences copyright claims and copyright strikes and all that stuff. That's one thing to resolve. But I had a situation earlier this year where my channel was completely demonetized.
Oh my,
for a good period of time. Yeah, I received I didn't even actually receive. Normally, when this happens, you receive an email from YouTube notifying you.
Right.
I was lucky enough that I did a video a while back on Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. And I caught trend really well, and the video did a lot better than I thought it would do. It's on something like 170,000 views, which is great. And being very smart, I had ads on for that video, so I made a fair amount through ad revenue, which was unknown to me at the time, and it was nice. It was probably the first time I'd started to make a little bit of money from the channel. It was, this is going. It was kind of a sign that, okay, what I'm doing is working. Let's keep at it. And not long after that video started to take off, when it got around, when it uploaded, it did as well as another video. But then as it progressed, it just kept ticking over and ticking over. And when it got to around like 20,000, 50,000 views, I just stopped receiving money through it. And YouTube had completely demonetized my channel for reasons I'm still not completely sure.
They don't tell you. Yeah.
But, it was a case of, I think if I was with a network, it would have been sorted out a lot easier because I would have people who know what they're doing sorting it. Where me, I'm not the most internet savvy person, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And, I eventually did get it fixed after a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks.
It was fixed eventually, and luckily enough, it didn't hurt the ad revenue made from that video too much. I still made money from it,
right?
But that can happen to anyone at any time. That was kind of the moment where it dawned on me that as an independent creator and as someone who makes videos completely by themselves, this could just go like that at any point.
Yeah.
When you're not with a network and when you don't have hundreds of thousands and millions of subscribers, you're constantly walking on thin ice to an extent. And that's a very scary thought.
I had the video that I did where I talked about every actor to ever play Superman. Yeah. Someone flagged that video and they took the video down and gave me a community strike.
Wow.
Yeah, and the video could not be any milder, right? I mean, you could show it to kindergartners if you wanted to, But and the problem is that when there's a space when they do this sort of thing, like you didn't even get the email, which is disturbing. But whenever they do anything like that, demonetization or community strike or copyright, they're supposed to send you an email, and there's a place where they can write anything they want to. But they don't. What they do is they jump over to the community guidelines and they copy and paste something from there. And they copied and pasted a whole paragraph of things that it might be instead of just copying and pasting the one thing that it apparently was. And I never did find out what that one thing is. But the best I can figure from the clues at hand is at one point in the video during the editing process, I realized that I did not talk about Nicolas Cage almost becoming Superman. Which was fine because the video is about people that played Superman, not people that almost played Superman. But I at least wanted to mention it. So at a moment in the video during the editing process, I threw up a picture of Nicolas Cage dressed as Superman and told him in words on the screen, like if you want to read about it, there's a link in the description. And so there's a rule on YouTube that if your primary goal is to drive people off of the website, then the video is in violation of the guidelines, and that's normally for like I don't think that'd be it because I did a video a few weeks ago where I talked about I did the Untold Cinematic History of Spider-Man, and in that video I left all the links in the description to where you can go and read PDFs of those scripts, and in the outro section of the video
where I was on camera, I said there are links in the description to scripts.
That rule is meant to prevent a very specific thing. It's meant to prevent people from. Have you ever seen a video where it's supposed to be a full episode, and you look at it and say it's a 22-minute show? The video is 22 minutes long, and you think, hey, it's actually the thing. And you click on it, and it's telling you it's like 22 minutes of just a link.
Just nothing.
Where you can watch the video. And it's usually some malware-infested, bullshit. And that's what that rule's for. And the only thing I can figure is that YouTube is outsourcing this stuff to YouTube heroes, and they don't understand the rules they're enforcing, you know. And the person that's supposed to check them isn't checking them. They're just sort of chucking them through. And so upon review, 24 hours later, I get an email saying, we've decided that you didn't break the rules. I'm like, thanks.
Thank you. I could have told you that myself. But I think what this is coming to is the fact that there's something weird going on with YouTube at the moment. And it's kind of reassuring to me to just know, using Vid Me, to just know that if worst case scenario ever happens, I have a place where my videos are stored and can be viewed. But it's just strange seeing what's happening to a load of people around us. A lot of people who are making high quality content like this are some of the hardest working people I know.
Absolutely.
The amount of people I know that are content creators that get no sleep for days and the ones who do have terrible sleeping patterns, I'll be the first to admit.
True story. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to use the bathroom, and had a message from Scott Nicewander about a video that I'm doing a cameo for. The guy was still up at 3 o'clock in the morning working on a video.
I tell my friends there's a recurring joke where I live on Pacific Standard Time, which is I think 6 hours behind me, because YouTube has completely destroyed my sleeping pattern.
Yep. That's actually, oddly enough, that's 4 hours off of my time.
There you go. Yeah, I'm in a situation where I'll be up till 4 a.m. every night, but I probably won't get up till 10 a.m.
Yeah.
But it's just part of it for me as someone who is happy with the way their channel's going and can see potential growth on the horizon. It's kind of daunting to me seeing how the kind of channel that I am, in someone who uploads one a week, spends that whole week working on the video and won't put out other videos during that week. I'm not the kind of channel YouTube's going to promote. And I'm resigned to admit that. I'm not the kind of channel which is going to ever appear on YouTube trending. And I'm not the kind of channel the algorithm is going to want to promote. Which means that
I'm not either,
which means that the only way my channel is ever going to continue growing to a place where it has the potential to grow is just through positive word of mouth, through using sites like Reddit and Twitter to kind of promote and share videos, and then just ironically making really, really high quality videos. My aim now is to make damn good videos, because if they're that good, people will share them. And I think where the algorithm is letting a lot of creators down, it's the viewers and it's the creators that are having to pick up a lot of that slack. We can talk about Patreon and services like that, which are really helping creators to continue to create at the levels they are when YouTube isn't able to fund them the way they should be. But only that, with the algorithm not promoting channels like myself and like you, who don't make tons of videos a week, it's kind of becoming the responsibility of viewers to kind of really help promote those channels. And in a way, that's really nice. In a way, it really does build a community. And I've noticed that over the last month that, people who watch channels like myself and OwenLikesComics and NerdSync and Stu Dippin and Comic Drake and all the Weekly Pull guys and Cape Joel and all those guys, they all kind of have a lot of the same familiar faces. And that's awesome. I think I did an appearance on the Weekly Pull podcast a few months ago, and not only did it bring over a whole host of people who weren't familiar with the stuff I was making, but there was people who I had conversations with and I'd come to know through comments who were watching that, which I had no idea that they watched as well. And to an extent, that's an awesome thing, because it really does build that community.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've made tons of great friends just making these videos. But at the same time, it just goes to show that and I'm not going to be this sort of socialist guy saying the system's wrong, but it's the system which is kind of failing a certain type of creators to an extent. And I can't figure out if this is a blessing in disguise or if it's just a real big problem.
Yeah, and you know, I'm glad, like you said, that we have Vid Me to fall back on. But in the end, all considered, I don't think this is the end of YouTube. You know, the algorithm changes a lot, and it'll change again.
It will change, and things will get better. But you know, we can't afford to live in the future. That's the issue.
Exactly.
You know,
how many channels will we lose before it gets
not
better?
Only how many channels will we lose, but how many channels will we put in a situation where it's not sustainable growth?
Exactly.
You know, YouTubers, at least the ones I know, aren't the most in a situation where you can think, right, I've just got to get through now, and in 6 months' time, things will pick back up. Mm-hmm. A lot of YouTubers work month to month. They've got to rely on things on a weekly or monthly basis. And, you know, most people in general who make money doing a job can't afford to not make enough money for 6 months and then think it'll be okay in 6 months.
Exactly.
As wishful thinking as that is, you know, most 99% of the people out there can't do that. It's not attainable, and it's a real conundrum for a lot of people. But at the same time, you know, you've got to just keep going on. You've got to keep making good videos, and you know, if it feels to me as if the algorithm and all the bullshit is kind of pushing against us, but you just got to push back harder.
Yeah,
to an extent. You know, I'm going to show them, but I'm going to make one video a week.
Absolutely,
but it's going to be the best video I could put out that week. You know, I think you can relate to the same idea.
I can. You know, I haven't actually made any money from YouTube yet, but you know, I do want to get there, and I'm working hard to try and get there. And what bothers me from my perspective is people like me, you know, that will never get a chance to get started in this environment. Because
that's the worrying thing. Is we're the you know, we've been fortunate enough to be watching YouTube for years, and we've seen channels come out of nowhere and become big channels. If this is the way things are now, where is the next source-fed nerd going to come from?
Mm-hmm.
Where is the next comic story going to come from?
Yep.
If channels aren't being promoted in a way that they can grow, it's a worrying situation to an extent.
Because when I had the original idea for my channel, if I had that idea in this environment, I don't know that I would have even tried. You know?
Yeah, I remember in Bandit's video, he said, he finished the video off by saying, you know, my advice to people asking me about starting a channel now would be, don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first time.
That's what Drake says too.
Yeah. I feel like it's the first time ever where people are actively discouraging other people from starting channels.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm fortunate enough to an extent where I have a number of videos and a number of subscribers behind me where, you know, I'll probably float. I may not grow in the way that I would have done if this was a couple of years ago, but, you know, we'll be all right. We've got a base behind us. But if we were starting channels tomorrow, you know, I do worry, especially if we were starting the channels we have now tomorrow. I don't think in 18 months' time we'd be in the positions that we are.
Yeah. I think ultimately I'll be okay because, you know, I may only have 500, but I've got to say this. They are 500 of the most loyal, you know, most just awesome guys and gals. I had to say and gals. There's only 9% of them, but they're there. They show up. It was 15, so I don't know what I'm doing to drive all you girls away, but I'm sorry.
You know what? They didn't know you were a father, and I think some people are just a little bit, you know, they're not ready for that sort of commitment yet.
That's what it is.
Maybe, you know, it's understandable. I can kind of understand it, and they see children maybe they run off. But, you know, I'm sure once they kind of think about all the benefits that you offer,
I'm
sure they'll come
hoping
back.
I'm hoping his cute factor will bring in the female
Exactly.
audience so that they can go, oh.
If anything, he's the perfect wingman.
Yeah, that he is. That he is.
But before we wrap up, there's a burning question which I don't know the answer to, and I don't know if your viewers know the answer to. But where the fuck does Fancy Teeth come from?
Okay.
Because I need to know the answer to that. I don't know if you ever publicly given the answer to that.
I have.
I feel like I'm asking the question on everyone's minds here.
I have not on this channel, but I've told this story before other places. But I have a friend of mine who actually, you know what? I've never told this story publicly because the one time that I did record it, that was for a I took Tim Schmoyer's YouTube class, the 10-week workshop, and that video was for that. So yeah, ever. There's this stereotype here in the mountains of the, you know, hillbilly with no teeth, you know, and he's got an outhouse and he goes hunting, and you know, and that's something that we toss around as an insult toward each other, you know. Okay. And so my best friend Mark, he calls me and he's wanting me to go and see a movie, and he said, put in your fancy teeth because we're going out. Right. And so I was like, I'm going to name something Fancy Teeth. I didn't have a YouTube channel at the time, but eventually one of these days I'll start a company or I'll start something.
You're just going to use that name.
I will use that name. And I used the name. So that's what it is.
See, I wish I had a cool story behind the name of my channel, because I, like, you know, as we talked about before I started this, I went into YouTube with zero planning, and I think that shows that I picked the simplest name possible. It's that, right, I've heard from a lot of people, if you're doing comic book videos, having the word comics is probably a good thing.
Yeah,
they get the tagline
in that same course. Some of the people that were there were like, why don't you change your name while you're so small? Why don't you put comics or science fiction in the name if that's the direction you're going in? And I was like, for a while I changed it to FT Productions because I was honestly concerned that when I went to collaborate with other creators that they would think the name was too ridiculous to say on their channel. But eventually I changed it back because if you're going to go, then just go all out. Yeah.
I mean, I picked a name which is literally the most easy descriptive thing ever. Yeah. My name is Owen. Well, I like things. One of those things I like are comics.
As I said in a tweet previously, I'm pretty sure you love comics. So
you know what? It's kind of funny. Hey, I don't. You've read the comments. I don't make enough comic book videos.
Yeah, you don't.
Whether this will affect the status of the name of my channel is unsure.
Yeah. You're not a real comic book YouTuber.
Probably not. Honestly,
okay.
You know what?
I'm not either. I think in our group, it's me and you and Stu Dippin that do more general nerd videos than we do comic book videos, I think. And there's nothing wrong with that.
My politics line is I make videos about the concepts of characters in comics, the characters, themes, and concepts in the world of comics. Basically, so I talk about the characters.
Well, you're closer to being a comic book channel than me or Ricky. Ricky's Stu Dippin for you guys that don't know. I love some of Ricky was on the show last time, and I didn't get to mention this. He does these videos. Have you seen the $5 cosplay videos he does?
Yes.
Oh
they're
my
fantastic.
God, that is so funny.
But that is so funny. If a comic book video like that I really want to talk about, if a good case study comes up, I will do it. But it's just a case of I don't have a lot to say about things in comics at the moment.
Go ahead.
A few people said, why don't you talk about what's going on with Secret Empire and all the uproar with Nick Spencer? Here's everything I could say about that. I've read the Zero issue. I've read a couple of issues of the actual Captain America run, and I've kind of kept up with a brief understanding of what's going on. I don't see why everyone's complaining. understand to an extent that people don't like the idea of Cat being Hydra. But
yeah.
It's comics. This kind of shit happens all the time. Give it 6 months, it'll probably be retconned away anyway.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
You can't stop people from telling stories. And
yeah, I think it was Drake that put a tweet out saying that a lot of the people, it was either Drake or Armin from Comic Book Cast, one of those guys put a tweet out basically saying that a lot of the people who are complaining about this haven't read the actual issue.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a thing.
You have to take risk. Whether you're writing a comic or doing a YouTube channel, at some point you have to take a risk. Otherwise, you'd be boring. You know, I mean, taking the risk of cuddling your 10-year-old son in the middle of the video here.
There's nothing for me to cuddle here. But the loneliness is seeking in.
I know, right?
But didn't they do a story? They did a story 2 years ago where Spider-Man turned evil, and it was Superior Spider-Man was one of the best stories that Marvel put out in the last decade. So I don't see the problem. These things happen.
I'm seriously considering, like, Scott did this thing a while back where he did away with the names of all the shows. And everything was just a nerd sync video. And I'm going to have to do that because, you know, I'm up to like 15 or 20 episodes of that sci-fi show. And almost all of them are on comics. And while I can defend that to a certain extent, right? I mean, comics are pretty much science fiction, superhero comics, you know. It's getting to the point to where it's almost only that. And I'm going to do what I'm going to do regardless of the name of the show.
You know, I do a lot of videos on Star Wars. I did 2 back-to-back case studies on The Walking Dead, which you can argue is a comic. But I mean, he talks about the TV show.
The only one I can't defend is my video on Sherlock.
But still, that's nerd. That's geek culture.
Yeah, and still, that guy I maintain to this day has got to be genetically modified in some way.
It's like
BBC gave me a hard time over that.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you want me to go talk to them? Do you want me to go talk to them? 'Cause I've got that connection.
They had a lawyer email me, and there was an actual debate back and forth over email where eventually,
you kidding me?
Nah, I kid you not. They wanted the video. They wanted the nickel from the video. And, you know, I had this guy actually tell me that the people that make the show, you know, they have families and they need that nickel.
I'm sure Stephen Moffat and Benedict Cumberbatch are really struggling.
And I tried to explain to them, literally, I started with, these are the 4 pillars of fair use. And this is each one, and this is why I qualify, you know. And this guy, who is a lawyer who knows that fair use is a thing, would not even use the phrase. He would ignore all of those points and just harp right back to this is our property. And, you know, finally we agreed to disagree. And they agreed that they would pull the ads and nobody would get the nickel. Okay. And that's the decision that we came to. It was a sad state of affairs is what it was.
Hey, I've never seen so much fighting over a nickel before.
I know. They had a lawyer that probably makes $100 an hour send me a dozen emails back and forth to negotiate for that nickel.
Look, mate, there's not that much money in this video.
Yeah. You know.
Hey, look. Hey, these guys have got a Sherlock video that's got 2 million views. You go harass them.
Put them off on somebody else. That's what I should have done. Pop up, please. That's absolutely what I should have done.
Yeah, I think, you know, I feel like we teased people with talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, but this has just been an hour-long discussion about YouTube, which I can't figure out is really boring or not. Because in a similar way, I seem to do this a lot in a similar way when I went on to the NerdSync podcast. Rest in peace, the NerdSync podcast. When I went on the NerdSync podcast, all I did, I think Scott planned for something, but all I did was talk about algorithm and thumbnails and titling.
Yeah. Well,
which I think to anyone who doesn't make videos is boring.
But when you do this, it's your whole world, you know.
But I could probably do a whole podcast just on thumbnails because if you follow me on Twitter, you know I hate thumbnails.
Tim Schmoyer at Video Creators does a whole podcast that's just based on YouTube. I'm sure he'd talk thumbnails for an hour with you.
You know what? let's set this up. You're calling out Joel. Yeah. I'm calling out Tim Schmoyer. I'm sure they're both watching. So, OwenLikesComics@gmail.com.
I spent 10 weeks in his class, so he might actually stop by one day and watch.
Hey, Tim, if you're watching this, hit me up on Twitter @OwenLikesComics. I'd love to sit and chat.
I'll tweet it at him. And,
also, if TED Talks want to offer me a talk, I could talk about thumbnails.
Yeah. We'll both go to TED Talks. I don't know what I'll talk about, but I mean, I just want to say me too is all I'm saying.
Yeah, Jay can come as well. You'd have to fly me over from the UK, and I'm obviously in a hotel and all that good stuff. You know, if we can sort this out, then
it'd be totally worth it.
I wouldn't be against it.
This man has revolutionary thoughts on the idea of thumbnails, in that he doesn't like them.
It's not that I don't like them. I just find them incredibly frustrating.
Yeah. In the class, they told me, and I believe this to be true. I'm not disputing its truthfulness. But in the class, they told me, you need to spend just as much time on your thumbnail as you do your video. And that was just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
And like I'm sure that it's true that you need to put a lot of time and thought into, but I can't do that.
I'm not spending. No one's spending 15 hours making thumbnails. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think the person that said that was like a vlogger, so he's probably meaning. Well, I mean, it was in the class I was in was almost all vloggers, but so he probably meant like an hour or two, right?
Possibly.
But still, that's kind of unreasonable to me because I've already put 15, 20, 30 hours in the video.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of just the double-edged sword of the things that we do. They take a lot of time.
Absolutely.
And with the way YouTube's going, there may be no reward. There is no light at the end of the tunnel, Jay.
And to do my normal sort of well-researched video that's about psychology and has sources that aren't like, wikis, those take like 50, 60 hours.
Yeah, one of the saving graces of my channel is the fact that I have a JSTOR account because I use the shit out of that.
Yeah,
I
need one.
Yeah, the fact that I'm at university is a complete blessing in disguise because I have access to so many online sources. It's amazing. If I use them as much for my actual academics as I do for my channel, I'd be flying. I'd have my graduate hat on. I'd have my diploma. I'd be in the robe. I'd be graduating now. Alas. I'm here making videos about Power Rangers.
I'm going to wrap this up before my son has a tiny little cute coronary and has a heart attack. Where can the people find you at on the internet, Owen?
If you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about nothing, you can do that at youtube.com/OwenLikesComics, where we make weekly case study videos about themes, concepts, and characters in the world of comic books and geek culture and how they relate to stuff. If you want written versions of my nonsensical ramblings, you can do that at twitter.com/OwenLikesComics. And if you want to watch those videos again on a different platform, vid.me/OwenLikesComics.
And
thanks for watching, and thanks for having me on, Jay. This was awesome.
Very well.